Thank you, Madam Chair. Chief Weller, thank you for being here. I am from Indiana. I'm a huge supporter of cover crops. Our state is. A huge supporter of clean waterways, good agricultural management by our farm and ag community. In my time, I've never seen our waters cleaner in our state. Yet, you know, no one wants cleaner waters than the farmers who live right there on the farm with their own children, their own family there. And there's a real feeling, I think, in our ag community of what has become an us against them situation in regards to the waters of the United States, that our farmers feel we work nonstop every single day to voluntarily comply to make our waters cleaner, to make things better, and all we hear is more government regulation. And I think what's happened is those actions have lost the confidence of our ag community, that they sit and work every single day to make our waters cleaner and say all we do is get more hassles every day. So where is the connection between the voluntary actions we're taking, the reality of what's going on in our state and I'm sure other states, and where government regulations have gone? Specifically, I also want to ask you about one of the things that has struck me the most were concerns from conservation supporters that the interpretive rule may actually have a negative impact on producers implementing conservation practices. Many Hoosier farmers have said they were unaware conservation practices trigger Clean Water Act permitting requirements, and by creating specific exemptions, an assumption has been created without a stated exemption, other practices requiring a CWA permit before being implemented. Did you think about this consequence and about what would happen?
I know there's a lot of careful consideration into the interpretive rule, and there are experiences in other states where producers want to put in place practices and they've had to go through a permitting process that has been, in some cases, pretty difficult. So I think the intent was, again, to help streamline, but we're also aware that the unintended consequences of, if nothing else, confusion, but also perceptions about the need for permitting or disincentivizing actions. It was something that I'll just say was, at least personally to me, not a surprise.
You know that, as was said, there's over 1 million comments. And they're from folks who love the land, who love what they're doing, who have no desire to see our waters become in lesser condition at any point. Do you understand the frustration and the feeling that our farmers have when they look up and they go, our government's supposed to be my partner, and instead they seem like my adversary?
I definitely appreciate the frustration. In my home state of California, farmers there, I think more than anywhere, are actually very heavily regulated, whether it's for air, for wildlife, and for water. And when I visit producers in the Central Valley or along the coast, I understand both the palpable frustration, but also the bottom line business costs that regulation creates. And so this added perception elsewhere in the country.
And these are smart business people who understand that dirty water doesn't increase their bottom line. It makes it more difficult. That the ability to run their operations with effective clean water in good situations makes them more profitable, but not only makes them more profitable, at the end of the day, they're the conservationists and the environmentalists who are on the front line, who are there dealing with it every single day. And I guess I would just urge you and the EPA, as we look at this, to have more confidence and more faith in our farmers, our ag community, and others, that they want to solve the problem without having to get another layer of regulation put on top of them. Additionally, I also wanted to ask you about when we are incentivizing a large group of farmers to implement voluntary conservation practices. We have limited financial resources. One of the things we're looking at is whether we can demonstrate that a number of these practices make direct financial sense for farmers through increased yields, reduced input costs. We might see these practices take off. What are your keys for us to continue to increase the number of folks planting cover crops and implementing other voluntary conservation practices? Because, as I said, I'm a huge believer in cover crops, of what it's done to hold the nutrients in the ground, to help reduce runoff, to help keep our rivers and streams cleaner. What are the things you think of that we can do to help increase voluntary conservation practices?
So I think there are two things that are critical. Number one is to find more farm advocates, and this is increasingly less of a problem in Indiana. Indiana, in many cases, is the hotbed of the soil health movement. But have actual, the former panel talked about this, have farmers, the best form of I guess, salesmanship is a farmer-to-farmer conversation, peer pressure. And so where farmers see how cover crops can be incorporated, how they work, can actually help their bottom line, that's the best kind of, I think, pioneer piloting approach to demonstrate the power and effectiveness of cover crops. So we're working with partners to help identify those pioneers, those leading edge conservationists to show the power of cover crops. And the second thing is then just to get the economics down, to really show the bottom line, it is saving money. It's saving money through optimizing inputs, but also by helping them improve the overall resiliency of their soils. It's helping them be productive, whether it's through wet or through dry periods as well.
Yeah, well, I know how busy you are. I would ask you to, though, stay in close touch not only with everybody else's ag communities, but especially, as you said, in Indiana, we are strong believers in cover crops, of what it can do on a voluntary basis for our water condition, for our water cleanliness, for nutrient maintenance. And so I think the closer you stay towards being in contact on a constant basis, not only with my ag community, but everybody else's, I think you'll find there's a lot more solutions there than you could ever imagine. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Senator Hoeven.